We do have a Yeshongguang with a, well, without skin in the overworld, but we do have a Yeshongguang. So, let's quickly check. You are fully capped out. You have 6 million Dennies. That is not poor, actually. You have 46 pulls, 32k saved up. So, I would argue that is not free to play. You probably want to invest in some more Bangbus. All of the 2.x Bangbus outside of Sprout are pretty good to get to R3, right? You can get Bergblick to R3, Biggest Friend to R3, Mercury to R3. Belion is probably, like, you probably should get a Belion. It's a pretty good Bangbu. Ooh. You have skipped Alan C. Well then. Okay. Do you have Mindscapes? Highly likely you do, right? M2, 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 M0, M2, M2, M1. Why is the goat only M1? Well then. M1 Alice, M2 user, M6 YSG, M6 Yixuan, M0 Vivi, M0, M0, M3 BB. Yeah, pretty free to play friendly account, I would argue, but that's okay. Let's have a look at if your scores look just as free to play. Those are very free to play looking scores, yes. The Sanguine Sweeper. The Sanguine Sweeper Force. Yep, free to play. Good. So, with this very free to play based account, we are looking at 27k attack, 341. You definitely want to, okay. Nangong Yu. Assist to 12. As always, for every single stunner, assist to 12. That's one of the most important parts. Her EX is also the main source of her days. It does more than her ultimate and basic. So that one you also want to max out. It also is a good chunk of her damage and anomaly application. So that is pretty important. Aside from that, you're running 4-piece Phaethons. That is all pretty good. You're running attack here. I mean, that's not the best one, but you are aware of that. So, oh, that is a really good... You should consider possibly getting a Bernice. You have some arguably good discs here. Seed at 80% crit rate. That looks very similar to my seed, actually. You probably want to get the ultimate to 12 as well. How many do you have? You have 8, okay. Yeah, you have not all too many attack substats. You're missing attack substats here. Here you have 2, that is fine. Here you have 1, that is 3. And here you have 3, that is 6. And here you cannot roll, but you have like the flat rolls. You definitely want more crit rate, more CR substats. Max 85% stat screen, right? And otherwise, you also want more attack. Ideally 3k plus stat screen. You can go down a little bit on the crit damage, especially more so. Even like if you intend on getting Sisia is gonna be giving you 40 crit damage as well, right? So that is something you could consider. If you run with a Sona later on, you do have the signature, which is gonna give you 25% damage bonus. It also gives you combat attack. So the damage bonus is whatever, but the combat attack is nice, because the combat attack is just gonna give your seed more attack if you have a higher base attack, right? With Orphe, that's not too much of a problem, but looking at your account, I have not seen an Orphe yet. Yeah, ultimate to 12, that's kinda it. Electric damage here is fine, you're running attack crit damage, that's okay. 3-5, 185, 2-6, 98 impact, so you're running double ER, that is fine. You do have the W engine, just good as well, not much to say. If you want to be fair, right, you spend a little bit of money on your account, just, you know, nearly free to play, close enough. But in case that you would want to care about that, Sona does a good amount of days, especially if you space out her EX and stuff. And you will parry on her. So in that case, you could also level her assist a little bit, but to be fair, you have 0 problems clearing for the next 10 years. 100, 210, that's M2. Well, we're just gonna make it differently, right? All stunners. Assist to 12. So, and then we can, you know, get right here. You also want for Dialin specifically, basics to 10 plus ideally. Just because you are gonna use this, you will use her basic somewhere. Otherwise, you do run ER here, you run 2 PCR, you have the signature, even at R2. So, actually, if you have her at R2, you could consider not running a 2-piece Moonlight and run something damage-related instead. Like a 2-piece Astral Voice or something. It can increase her damage quite a lot. Also crit damage because you have like 100% crit rate, right? That is a pretty good utility as well. At M2, you have all of that maxed except for assist. You can consider it yet again. You know, just free damage. You have her signature at R1. That is looking also just fine. Oh, you're running crit rate here. Actually, you could possibly consider running crit damage, but your substats don't seem like they can make up for that. You just want 1 crit rate roll rather than +1. Wait, that is a really good energy piece. Oh my god. If you can get 1 more crit rate roll, right, would be nice. But it's like really not that important. I think the main thing you could change is going for a crit damage one here. That could be pretty massive if you can have the crit rate substats to support it. But yeah, that is RNG based. Lucia, 2-4k attack, 2-4 HP with a signature and ER here, but that is a diabolical good one. That is, yeah, just very good, very nice. Very good, Lucia. Very bad, Lucia. I take everything back. I retract my statement. Okay, assist to 11. And basics arguably as well. Let's just make 10 plus. The goat is not goated, indeed. The way of how Lucia works is that she has 3 different types of aftershock, right? She has 1 aftershock on her basic, 1 on her assist, and 1 on her EX special. That is this aftershock damage multiplier here, right? And the way of how she chooses... Well, misleading wording, I love it. The way of how she chooses which aftershock to use is she doesn't choose, it's just random. So whether she uses this aftershock or this aftershock or this aftershock is literally complete RNG. So if you want to make sure that your Lucia does the most damage she can do, you need to level all of them. All 3 of these. To be fair, it is not gonna be a massive difference. It's not gonna be a difference between, you know, 55k and 60k. That is not gonna be happening. It's gonna be a difference between 60k and 61k at best. But if you care about this 1k difference, this can be a good difference here, right? On top of that, you get like more days and damage here as well. You are gonna use the assist follow-up somewhen. You will parry on her somewhen. Even if you prefer to parry on others, you're probably just not gonna do that. So it is worth, you know, doing that. You're also gonna use her B5, by the way. So that is also gonna be pretty helpful. And well, her ultimate, I mean, looks nice, and that's about it, so it doesn't really matter too much. 203, 33, 171, that looks just fine. You are running Astral Voice. I personally would probably recommend you to switch to Moonlight Lullaby. However, Astral Voice is fine if you know what you are doing. There is one problem on Astral Voice, specifically with M2 user. Keep in mind that her M2 every 20 seconds is gonna trigger a chain attack instead of a quick assist. I mean, she's gonna trigger the quick assist as well, but you probably want to take the chain attack, right? Unless you literally ignore what her M2 provides, which is not gonna be great if you do that. You will not have enough quick assists for your Astral Voice, which means Astral Voice loses value in, on an M2 user, unless you actively ignore the value that her M2 provides, or you have another teammate that can provide enough quick assists to solely maintain Astral Voice. There are not too many other characters who can do that. At least for your user, I would recommend a 4-piece Moonlight instead. Because of that, right? You can level the assist. It's just gonna be more days, more damage. Yixuan, I mean, it's... You want to level the assist. I feel like I should have emphasized that slightly more in the guide, probably. YSG. Assist to 16. Her entry skill is part of her assist, right? So, I mean, it is M6, you don't really care too much about that. If you care about that, get this to 16. Otherwise, you're at 3-4, 182. Do you run fist damage? That is pretty good in that case. Yeah, that is a really good Yixuan. That is actually such an unfortunate double roll here. M6 Yixuan as well, 53. And this is also W1. So, you are at 22 plus 20 is 42%. You are undercapping a little bit on crit rate? It was 10% she gets, right? Yes. So you do want a little bit more crit rate. Otherwise, it is really good. The question is if you can get a little bit more crit rate somewhere, because that would be pretty helpful at this level of investment. The pieces are all pretty good. This is probably the weakest piece. You might want to consider changing this, by the way. Consider changing this to this one, and here go for a crit rate focused one, which you don't actually have. So maybe not, I guess. You have a crit rate one in somewhere? I swear to God, I just saw a crit rate +3 somewhere. I'm just hallucinating at this point, who knows. Yep, try to get a little bit more crit rate. That's kind of it. Try to hit 58% crit rate on stat screen. Don't overcap, right? It's max 58%. Missing like 5% here is not the end of the world. 422, your attack is really low, so you're running ether damage bonus here. There are... Okay, so generally you have like 0 AP discs on like anything. I know they're really ugly to roll for, but you have like 0 substats on anything. To be fair, right? Rolling for AP is unfortunate, but that is like what I noticed the most on your account so far is that your anything that isn't Aria Nangong Yu, anything else, Vivian, Alice, probably Yanagi as well, they are kind of lacking in their build, Vivian. So you might want to consider farming Cryo, farm Faith, and, well, farm AP discs, right? For your AP units, I suppose. That's basically it. For Vivian specifically also, especially at M0, you still want to do that at like M1 and stuff as well, but it is not as important at M1 as it is before that. For Vivian, you do want to level the assist, so get the assist to like 10 plus. The main reason why that is important for Vivian is that a lot of her feather generation is allocated in her assist, right? Because it's gonna generate, like the assist follow-up. It's gonna gen you 2 flight feathers right here, right? It's 2 flight feathers every time you do the assist follow-up. And you will have a really hard time at M0, depending on the team you play, to maintain her flight feather generation without parrying. That basically just means you are forced to parry on your Vivian, and because you are forced to parry on your Vivian, that effectively also simply means it is a loss in damage and days to not have this leveled. It is literally just free because you are forced to do that. On top of that, you can consider changing this to an attack piece simply because your attack is pretty low by default. That is gonna be better than the ether damage you have here right now, otherwise roll better substats, right? You have like no attack here. You have no attack here. There are no attack one on this one. You have no AP on like a large portion of your discs. All of these 4 discs have like +1 AP, except that one, I guess. So that's pretty low as well. But I mean, it's fine. Right? It's Vivian. 7,553k. Okay, so your attack is pretty low, in fact. You, honestly, that is all fine. You have like the chain level that like most of her damage. You run S-Full Voice. Your crit rate is just fine. That's an R1 Heartstring Nocturne. You run fire damage, attack, and crit damage. Which team do you run Eve in? You're probably running Astra, surprise. And aside from Astra, you do not have Lighter, so do you run Dialin? I mean, you could also just run Nangong Yu because of how fast she stuns. How M6 Soldier 11 compares to Evelyn Mindscapes? Okay, Evelyn Mindscapes are just bad. The only Mindscape I think that is worse than Evelyn Mindscapes is like Alice M6, which is complete garbage. But her Mindscapes are not great. I would not recommend Evelyn Mindscapes, and Soldier 11 is very solid all around. That is not speaking negatively, that is speaking factually, especially when money is involved. You do want a lot more attack, and ideally you also want to run pen ratio here rather than fire damage. Let's have a quick look. If we can get something going here. Crit damage is not that important comparatively. You also have like some discs here you could level, like this one. Okay, maybe not that one. Even though it's arguably, it might be actually better simply because it has more attack on it. You don't need that much crit damage. More attack is more important for her. It doesn't look as nice, right? So let's see if we can roll something slightly better. Yeah, there we go. That is good. So we're gonna go with this one. Give up some crit damage in exchange for attack. That is totally fine. Here as well, if you can. Run this one here. And go for... Now you're overcapping crit rate. That is totally fine. Because that means we can now run either Branch and Blade. Or Inferno Metal, or Hormone Punk, or Puffer, or Woodpecker. This Woodpecker piece here, and a better Woodpecker piece somewhere else. The question is where that somewhere else is, probably here. So 80, 163, 1, you're overcapping crit right now. Unfortunately, I think we do have to run Woodpecker. And your Branch and Blade pieces are kinda used up a little bit. Give up on the Woodpecker, run this one instead. Yeah, I think we do that one. So do this. Run Astral Voice here and here. How is it looking? 46, 133, 34. That is so much better. That is so much better. So, for Evelyn, depends obviously what your goals are, right? For Evelyn specifically, if your goal is to have an high-end Evelyn, you are looking at you can stop looking for attack at like 3,600. That is basically when you can like stop investing into attack. If you don't want a high-end Evelyn, you know, then whatever. But this is a pretty good Evelyn now. It is a pretty good Evelyn. This was what we started at. You lost like 17% over here and you got like 400 flat attack. It's a pretty massive increase. You also got the pen ratio now, by the way, which you didn't have before, rather than anything else. Your resource management was honestly fine. Your disc rolls were overall just fine. The builds you've had for what you have rolled were also not all too bad. However, you had a lot of important skills not leveled necessarily. So I would not Uvu. Your skipped units, you don't have Bernice, so that's instant an F- of course. No Bernice. Your DA scores, I mean, you M6'd everything. There is, you know, there is nothing else I can give you but 65k. Like, you cannot get higher than that. Unless you clear quicker. You know, you can like do 1 minute kills, but I cannot actually check the time. And your overboard agent choice is an S- because no skin, no YSG skin. That is inherently makes it worse. Overall, I would say that is an A+ account. There is some stuff you can improve, which is just what I sent you, right? Level your skills and otherwise roll better substats. And everything that is not listed here, we have already fixed. Thank you so much for submitting your account. I highly appreciate it. Thank you.